All right, so basically let's start with the warm-up that he sent out. It's really about range of motion and just loosening everything up. So we'll just start just doing some little swings. You know, we're basically, grab my phone here, trying to open everything up, get loose, loosen the joints up. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with back arm circles. We're gonna do 10, you can kind of just accelerate as you go through here, about 10 on each side. With this, try to keep the shoulders, the hips, you wanna be as stable as possible as we work through this, and really trying to open it up here through the chest and get that shoulder joint nice and loose. We'll keep going here for a minute. Just going through 10, keep his feet planted. If you've watched the video, you can, Matt Dixon does the little hop that he likes to do in there as the arm comes around. We'll switch to the other side now. Again, really try to open up the chest, loosen that shoulder joint up, keep everything nice and stable through the core, and let the arm do the movement. We don't want to have your whole body swinging side to side as we do this, nice and stable. All right, after 10 of those, we're gonna go to back arm circles now. Ooh, nice back, again, opening up through the chest. Keep the hips stable, facing forward, get that little bounce. And you can really kind of feel that through the chest, and as you come around the back, you'll feel it right in the back, kind of tightening up. We'll do about 10 of those, kind of working through there. You get a little click in your shoulder like I do from all these swim band sessions. All right, after that, we're gonna move it in the forward direction. Now, as we do this, and as well as the forward with the arm circles, we really kind of feel that loosening up from the lower back up through the top. Go forward for about 10. All right, now we're gonna go right up into a streamline, nice and tight. Squeeze your ears. You don't want your hands to be behind your ears. You actually almost want to try to muffle your ears with your arms as you're doing this. So you're right over the ears. I'm bending down so you can see what I'm doing. But what you should really be doing is extending up. You can even get up on your tiptoes a little bit, and you're trying to lengthen everything out. Feel that kind of stretch all the way down through here, all the way down through your back. You can add a little side twist, a little twist to the other side. And one of the differences that he did in this warm up from the other ones, fix my camera here so you guys can see all the way up, is we now go from the streamline and we're gonna do opposing arm circles. So you can take whatever arm you want. We'll go left arm forward, right arm back, right up to the top. And then switch directions. A little bit of coordination. Again, one of those ones where you wanna try to remain stable and not twist too much. We kind of a little bit here as we go the opposite ways. It does kind of help open up the spine a little bit there too, loosen it up. We'll do about 10, alternating side to side. And then after that, we'll just do a little shake it out a little bit here. Now we're gonna kind of run through that one more time. You'll see in the video, he says you've got to do it as many times as you need. I tend to find, I think it's better to kind of do a little bit of an extra warm up, especially for these stretch band swim cord sessions. They tend to really tighten you up quickly. So it's definitely, I think, better to be as loose as we can. So we'll go through it again one more time. We're just gonna go with the back arm. You guys speed it up a little bit here. Do backwards arm circles, one arm. Again, we're doing about 10, just trying to get that nice and loose. Again, don't over rotate on these. These are the ones we want to be stable all the way through. Switch arms to the other side, backwards arm circles. So we'll do about 10. Go back to the other arm, but now we're going forward. And this is where we start to feel the stretch of the other side. The backward opens up the chest, forward arm circles, we start to feel it, again, from the lower back, through the lats, through this area, which tends to get pretty tight on these sessions. Then we'll switch to the other arm forward. We can kind of move through a little bit quicker now, so we should be kind of loosening up a little bit. Okay, now double arm backwards. Again, get the little bounce through there. Start to feel that. And then we'll go forward. from that, right up into the streamline. Now really stretch it out. Again, almost like you're trying to touch the ceiling. Really kind of feel like you're almost like getting lifted up towards the ceiling from your hands. Squeeze your head nice and tight. You can kind of go side to side a little bit here on this and just stretch it all out. I like to hold this until you kind of start to get a little bit tight through the shoulders. And then we could do our alternating arm circles. One arm forward, one arm back. Meet at the top, switch to the other side. Coordination. We'll do about 10 of those as well. Good. And then the last part of that, you had you bending over, nice and stable. Let me get this here, it's fixed. Nice and stable through the hips. And this is where we're going side to side here. As we twist, you kind of feel that spine loosening up on this one as well. I'm a little tight on space in here, but we do the best we can. Nice stable head position as well. So this is a nice warm up, especially for when we get going on the stretch bands. Just kind of already get used to that position that we're going to be over in, working on that nice stable head position. All right, let's take a little break here before we get going. All right, so let me see. Let me pull up our session so I make sure I've got the right one I want to do. Okay. So again, real quick on form. Let me grab my boards here. See if I'm in a spot where you guys can see me okay. I don't know if you were here early enough. Some of you just came in because my wife thinks I'm sick. I think I've just not slept well, but we'll see what happens. Let me fix this a little bit more. All right, so again on form with this. You want to bend at the waist, stable upper body. When we're doing this, the first part of the motion, the strap's getting a little loose, is fingertips come down, wrist stays above fingertips, elbow stays above wrist. We pull through that top part of the stroke. Notice how the arm isn't pulling back yet. I'm simply dropping my fingertips down, and then I'm pushing all the way through the back. So it's a tips down until it falls underneath your elbow, and then you're using basically that forearm, that hand, everything to push that all the way through the back. You don't want to be leading with your elbow this way. And you also don't want to let your hand get ahead of your elbow going that way. And on the recovery, same thing as we talked about the other day. You want to make sure you're just letting your hand come right back up underneath. So it should be just right to the top. We don't want to try to mimic the swim stroke because it's going to put too much stress on your shoulder if you try to come over the top like that. The other thing is we want to try, especially when we do the single arm stuff, avoid the bounce. We kind of end up doing a bounce like this. Try to be nice and stable, especially when we get doing the single arm alternating arms. Okay, so we're going to start out with a little bit of a preset today, where what we're going to do is we are going to do 5 reps going right arm only. We're going to do 5 reps going left arm only. Then we're going to go from that right into 20 alternating reps. Let me see here. So it's going to be 5 right arm only, and don't get started quite yet. And on these 1 arm only, what we're thinking about is form. This is where you're just starting to loosen up, just starting to make sure we've kind of got that form down. It doesn't need to be super tense on these. You can have a little bit less tension, even a little wobbly at the front, but setting up form. So we're going to go 5 right arm in a second. Don't quite get started yet. 5 left arm only, right into 20 alternating. Now these 20 alternating, the first set of 20 can be nice and smooth, not too rushed. Again, setting up good form. We'll take a little rest. We'll do 4 right, 4 left, take a step back, do 15 now, alternating. Take a rest. We'll take a step forward. We'll go 3 right, 3 left, take a bigger step back for a harder 10, and then we're going to end up doing 2 right, 2 left, and just 5 hard at the end. So we'll get started here in about 30 seconds. We're going to start out with this preset of going 5 right arm only, 5 left arm only, right into 20 alternating. And I'll kind of get you guys started. We'll catch up at the end of each of these. We'll take a little rest period at the end of each before moving on to that next part, so I can give you a reminder as well. All right, so let's get started here. We're gonna go 5 right arm only. You guys can go right into this, do your own count. I'll just kind of give some cues as we go, but it's 5 right arm only, 5 left arm only, and then from that, 20 alternating. And again, this first little set here, we're just warming up. We don't need a lot of tension. It can be rather loose. It's just all about form at this point and getting your shoulders used to the stretch cords before we kind of get into some harder stuff. And actually, as we're done with the 20 alternating, I forgot one key part of this, which I'll let you guys get through this and then I'll let you know what we're doing next. I apologize. So it's 20 right arm only. I'm sorry, 5 right arm only, 5 left arm only, 20 alternating. And I'll just keep an eye on everybody and see where we're at.
When you say 20 alternating, it's 10 per side or 20 per side?
10 per side. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just like swimming, but 20 total. And then after that, this is the key part, which I forgot to mention, and I apologize. But from there, we're going to go right down, and our rest in between our intervals here, we're going to do 30 seconds of kicking on your back. So hopefully you have a towel or something you can use. You can be right on your back if you're more advanced in the streamline, but just flutter kicking for 30 seconds. And I will send you guys off on an interval with that here in just a second. So we want to keep nice tight abs, nice tight core, keep the feet off, just a nice steady kick as we get going. And we're going to do 30 seconds of kicking starting right now. So again, nice tight core. Try to keep the legs nice and straight. Want your heels just off the ground. Again, if you're more advanced and it's a little harder, you can get your hands up over your head in a streamline. That tends to be obviously a little bit harder. We're going to keep going here. We're going to do 30 seconds of this total. Try to point the toes. Yeah, tiger. Yep, toes pointed. Nice. Okay, and stop. All right. Nice job. So we're going to make our way slowly back onto our cords. This is kind of our rest period here before the next set. Now this time around, we're going to do, again, just a form setup. 4 right arm only, 4 left arm. The arm that you're not using, just kind of get a little bit of tension on the cord, just like almost like you're setting up your next stroke already. Your fingertips are starting to point down while you do 4 one arm, 4 the other arm. And then this time we're going to go back, maybe half a step back and do 15 a little bit harder than we did the 20. So alternating 15 total, alternating each arm. So you guys can go ahead and get started. It's 4 right arm only, 4 left arm only. Again, we're setting up form, just trying to feel good on those. Then take maybe half a step back. And we're going to do 15, just like you're swimming, alternating with a little bit more tension than we had on the 20 that we did before. All right. So people are finishing up that. We won't get started quite yet. I'll let you guys kind of keep going. So the next step, as you guessed it, we're going to be kicking. This time we're going to be kicking on our backs for 40 seconds. We're going to up that by 10 seconds. It's going to be 40 kicks on our back, a little bit of core work. And all right, everybody's kind of finishing up now. And we will get started with 40 seconds of streamline kick or kick on your back starting right now. Again, nice tight core. We want to imagine this is good practice for when we get back to the pool, right? Toes are pointed, kind of kicking from the hip, not from the knee. Core is tight. Kind of want your heels just off the ground on these, not straight up in the air, not too high. We do this for 15 more seconds. And 5 more seconds. Okay, and rest. So this is kind of a slow movement back to the stretch cords. This is a little bit of our rest. If you can take a second to stretch your arms out, you can do that. That's fine. We're going to follow our progression here for a couple more rounds. Now this time, we want to start off on that easier, less tension for 3 right arm only, 3 left arm only. Now take maybe a full step back. We're going to do 10 alternating, and this should be more tension, a little bit harder than we had for the previous 15 that we had. So 3 right, 3 left. You guys can go ahead and get started when you're ready. 3 right, 3 left. And this is all about form, feeling good, taking a step back, a little more tension, and we're doing 10 now. And even increase the tempo a little bit, working a little bit harder on those alternating ones. Trying to stay nice and stable especially as we increase the tension and we increase the tempo. That's when we really start to notice the bounce kind of come into play. So we'll let people finish that up. And as we finish that up, we kind of start making our way back down to our mat. And as I'm sure you've guessed, this time we're going to do 50 seconds of kicking on our back. 50 seconds, starting right now. Now, maybe you've kind of been doing the streamline, the streamline position for these kicks, and that's starting to get a little tough. Don't be afraid to drop the streamline and put your hands at your side to make it a little easier part way through. The big thing here is, again, keeping that core nice and tight, keeping this continuous, just short, stable flutter kicks as you're going. Toes are pointed, not too much bend in the knee, really kind of kicking from the hips on these, just like if we were in the pool. Looking good. Okay, we've got 10 more seconds of this. Nice little burn in the abs today. Okay, and stop. Okay, nice little slowly get up here. We're coming into our last round. This is kind of the end of our preset / warm-up set here got going. And this time it's nice loose, just 2, setting up the form, 2 right arm only, 2 left arm only. Nice big step back. And I'm just finish up with 5 hard pulls, alternating each arm. If you feel uncomfortable going only, 2 right arm only, 2 left arm only, right into 5 hard single arm alternating. Especially staying nice and stable. Now that we're going real hard on those alternating ones, that's where you really want to find the stability. And we're going to finish that up. Make our way down to our mats. Take a little minute here to do that. Seems like I might be freezing up a little bit, so I apologize. All right, so last set of kicking. We are going to do 60 seconds of kicking, a full minute of kicking on our back, and we will get started right now. Go ahead and get going. We've got a full minute of kicks now. This is the last kicking we're going to do today. So don't be afraid to really try to hold it there and feel some burn. Same cues as before with the toes pointed. Again, if you're in that streamline and you're finding it a little too difficult to hold, you can kind of switch it up partway through, put your hands at your side. We're halfway there on this kick. Even if you get up on your elbows, that kind of helps a little bit as well. Nice straight legs as we kick from the hip. It's a nice stable core. Got 15 seconds left. Okay, and 5 seconds left. Okay, and we're gonna rest. All right, nice job, everybody. So take this opportunity as a good time to kind of swing the arms out a little bit. Stretch out the triceps, the lats. Kind of, I like to do a little clasp behind my back and stretch the chest out a little bit. You pull down with your hands. You kind of get the back to the opposite side with the press in the front. But just loosen the shoulders up. Get ready for our main set today, which isn't going to be too bad. Let's swing it all out. Get nice and loose. And we'll get ready to move on. So today, pull it up, make sure I have the right session here.
Hi there. If we have a weight bench, should we set up our weight bench?
Yeah, this is a great one to use the weight bench for sure. Ideally, what we do with the weight bench is if you've got an opportunity, if you have room to move it back, we're going to be adjusting tension as we go through the set today. So when it comes time for harder tension, just make sure you've got room to kind of scoot that back to give yourself a little extra space. Yeah, we talked about the weight bench a little bit again, and with that, it kind of alleviates the stress coming through the lower back and through your hamstrings, and it allows you with a weight bench as opposed to a fit ball. So we said that weight bench lets your hand travel a more natural swim path, which is right underneath your shoulder. So that left arm is underneath that left side of the body, right arm is under the right side. If you use something that's kind of got some legs, you might have to come out a little bit. You don't want anything that's wider than your hips for sure, because at that point, you're not going to be able to pull under. You're going to be forced out here. And as soon as we start pulling out wide, that's when you're going to put too much stress on your shoulders. So we can set up the weight bench for this if you would like. And we'll try to keep it on as we do that. All right, so today, let me pull it up. Okay, today we're going to do a little bit of power, and then we're going to mix that with a little bit of form. So what we are going to do is we are going to go for 15 seconds, double arm only. So not super long, but with that, we want high tension on that double arm. So it should be kind of a struggle to get that through. High tension, double arm only, so that's both arms at the same time. We're going to just do that for 15 seconds. We really want to try to push and power through the back of that pull. It's the big emphasis is going to be we get to here and then we really push through hard through the back end and pushing that all the way through your hip towards the back. If you're able to get here and you're stopping, that's too much tension. Take a half step forward because we really want to make sure we're finishing that pull all the way through the back. Nice straight arm through that area there. So it's going to be 15 seconds, high tension, double arm, both of them at the same time. Then we're going to take a half step forward, or if you're on your weight bench, you can kind of hop up, move it forward for a little bit. It's going to be about, well, I'm going to give you guys about 15 seconds to move things and take a little bit of a break. But from that, we're going to go into 20 alternating, less tension, but higher tempo. So take a half step to a full step forward after the high tension double arm, and we're going to do alternating. So it's going to be 10 each arm, but tempo. Really get in, trying to push through the back of your stroke. Almost like you're trying to flick water out the back, as if we were in a pool, accelerating through. Now again, once we do the high tempo, that's when we tend to have a tendency to bounce as we get through this. If you're standing, try to remain nice and stable, nice tight core, and just using the arms to push hard all the way through that back end there. And we are going to do that for 30 seconds of high tempo. And we were going to go through all of that 3 times, 3 rounds of that. And we'll take a break in between each round. So once again, just to kind of go over what we're doing, it's 15 seconds of high tension double arm, really powerful stroke all the way through the back. We'll take about a 15-second break before we go into 20 alternating. Again, the alternating ones are going to be high tempo, but less tension. So take a half step to a full step forward so you can really increase the tempo and get going on those. And then we're going to go through all of that 3 times through. But all right, we will get started here in just a second. This is high tension double arm. If it's too much tension and you can't finish your stroke, take a half step forward until you're able to do that. But all right, here we go. 15 seconds, high tension double arm. Ready, go. And this is a power stroke. So we're really trying to push hard through the back end of this. From basically when your elbow bends all the way through the hip, accelerate through. Okay, and rest. Now we're gonna take about 15 seconds here. Take maybe half a step forward, move your bench forward a bit if you need to. And now we've got 20 where we're gonna be alternating, but these are high tempo. Okay, ready, go. 30 seconds, sorry, 30 seconds total here. Alternating arms, increase, this should be a high tempo. Don't let the form fall apart on this. Got 20 more seconds. Nice stable head position, nice stable body. You wanna make sure we're not bouncing up and down as we go through these. And again, finishing that pull with a nice straight arm all the way through the back. 5 more seconds. Okay, and rest. You guys can drop the paddles, let them hang out, stretch out a little bit, big arm swings. So the big keys on this, again, with the double arm is making sure we can finish with a power stroke through here. And then with the single arm, it's increasing the tempo, but holding a nice stable core, nice stable body. We'll take about a minute break here before we do the next round.
Can I ask you a silly question? It might have been answered elsewhere, but for the single arm, should we be waiting until the first arm gets back before we start the second?
No, I mean, you want to try to keep a pattern similar towards a swim stroke. So especially when we're doing the higher tempo, you can start that pull as the other hand is coming up. So it's just about when your other hand's maybe 2/3 of the way back up, that's when you're starting your next pull. Usually, sometimes if we do some single arm stuff that's a little bit more power based, I might have you wait just to focus. Really when we do the single arm only, that's when I like to have that focus on that. But when we're doing the alternating, it's more of like a swim rhythm. Okay, so we'll get started here in about 15 seconds or 20 seconds with round number 2. So again, super high tension as long as you can finish all the way through on the 15 seconds of double arm. Short rest, a little less tension for the single arm, but increase the tempo on the single arm. So it's a power stroke into a speed stroke. All right, we're gonna get started. 15 seconds of high tension double arm, starting right now. Excellent, everyone's looking really good. Okay, and rest. Steve, make sure you're finishing with a nice straight arm all the way through the back up here as opposed to down here, right up there. Okay, a little step forward, less tension. We're gonna increase the tempo for 30 seconds of single arm, starting right now. Single arm, higher tempo, less tension. We want stable body, good head position. I said this in previous sessions, but imagine like you're swimming with a snorkel. The head should be nice and stable and nice and still. Got 15 more seconds. High tempo. Okay, and rest. Good, so we're gonna take it again, another minute break here. We'll go through that one more time, and then I'll answer any questions and go over anything if anyone has any questions or concerns with the stuff we're doing. This is a session where giving it to my one-to-one athletes, depending on the athlete, I might even prescribe this. Well, maybe the first time around I would do 3 rounds. If they're stronger, they might start out at 4, and we might progress this session over the weeks as we do it, and then add some rounds to it as we can, and maybe even some time to the double and some time to the single. So it is something that you can kind of progress and do as well if you want to add a little bit of extra to it. But we are going to get going here in about 20 seconds for our last round. We'll start out with that high tension double arms for 15 seconds. I think we've been through it a few times now, so you kind of got an idea where the tension should be, and you can adjust, especially after that first round. All right, let's do 15 seconds of high tension double arm, starting right now. Go. Five more seconds. And rest. Okay, adjust your bench, adjust where you are. Maybe half a step forward before we go into 30 seconds, alternating high tempo, a little bit less tension than what we had before. And we will start right now. Lexi put her video on so I can take all kinds of notes. Alexi's one of my one-to-one athletes, so we've got plenty to discuss here on our next call. Everybody's looking really good. Avoid that bounce. We don't want to wiggle side to side either. Nice and stable. 5 more seconds. And rest. Excellent. All right, you guys can drop the cords. Again, kind of shake it out here at the end. Just a little bit of movement just to keep everything going. Some nice stretches for the triceps. You know, I've mentioned the shoulder mobility stuff that Matt Hurley shared before. That's another good one to kind of do after to help kind of loosen everything up, particularly through our lats and through our triceps here. Good opportunity to stretch all that stuff up and loosen a little bit there. All right, so as I said, this is something you can progress, and if you guys are feeling feisty, you can do an extra round or 2 of this on your own here. But I think right now, again, as we've done in the past, take a little opportunity. If anyone's got some questions, anything about the stretch bands or even swimming in general, let me know, and I'm happy to answer any questions at this point.
Hey, John.
Hi.
I was wondering about when you say to stay still and stable with your upper body. When we're swimming, we are rotating a little bit, right? So what's the reasoning for staying still when we're doing the stretch cords?
When you have the stretch cords, you're not able to get the same type of rotation without putting too much stress. It's just going to throw everything off too much. You can a little bit. If you're on the weight bench, you're able to kind of get a little bit more of a reach and kind of lift that shoulder up because your hips can kind of roll with you. But your hips are planted, your feet are planted. And so a lot of the rotation from swimming comes from the hips. So when we're doing stretch bands, we can't rotate the hips. We can only rotate the shoulders. So,
okay, so we don't want to rotate the shoulders when they're under that tension from.
Yeah, unless you can get your body into it. Like I said, with a weight bench, you can kind of roll your body slightly to kind of mimic that a little bit. But again, if you're standing, you kind of lose that ability to use your hips in that rotation.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Thanks.
No problem. Any other questions?
So if you have a left arm that's really weak, is the obvious answer here to do a lot of left arm only drills?
I mean, yeah, you can. And then that's one of those things where even before, as part of your warm up, you can add in some where you really are just doing maybe 5 to 10 at a time of just that left arm and focusing on that strength, and especially finishing all the way through the back. You don't want to overdo it. And I think the other thing too is, a lot of people like to say they're weak with one arm when they're swimming, when in essence it's a deficiency in stroke maybe or form. So this is a good opportunity, especially if you're doing one arm only. You can get a mirror to see it from different angles. It's a good opportunity to watch your stroke slowly as you go through and make sure you're not pulling your elbow back too much on the stroke this way, that you're really getting into this position and pulling all the way through. So it's a good opportunity, yes, to work on that strength for that one arm, but also to focus on form for that one arm as well. All right. Any more questions? All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. Hopefully next time I won't be sequestered and trapped in my bedroom, and will have convinced my wife that I am in fact not sick. We shall see. But anyway, Sunday is our next session, and I hope to see you guys all there again. Thank you so much for joining.